galas or charity things coming up, it's a great thing. So my next guest is Mark, and Mark is coming in. He's the owner and executive chef from 401 Gourmet in Hope in Maine. And I'm going to bring a table up, which I normally have on the taste, so I'm going to bring it right over here so that we can showcase some of the things. So give me just 2 seconds. All right. Great. Towards me? Okay. All right. So let's get Mark, if he's ready, come right on in. And I learned something interesting about you from someone from Hope in Maine that was here earlier. Look at this. Thank you. Whoa. Oh, God, that looks amazing. Thank you, Christine.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Mark. Thanks for coming in and joining me. So I'm going to have you get right up on the side here so that everybody can see you, and we'll talk about this. So I was complimenting, when I spoke to Mark on the phone, I was complimenting the style and the photography that's out there for your pictures.
Thank you.
And I just learned there was someone here from Hope in Maine that was Molly's guest. I heard that you have someone that's been taking pictures for you.
Yes.
Like stylizing the food and doing that?
Yep. So we do all the plating ourselves, me and the executive chef, who just got back from a course in London on food styling.
Really?
Yeah. So between me and her, we plate everything. And then I have a buddy who's a photographer, and he was able to work with me to get all the pictures that you see on the website.
Well, I got to
things
tell
like
you,
that.
from a visual perspective, you won't be disappointed when you go to check out them on social media. So this company for you, and you're operating out of Hope in Maine right now, right?
Yes.
So give us a little bit about your background, because I read it, and you've got a great background. So let's talk a little bit about you before we get into the style and stuff for the wedding. So tell me about how you got started and the experience that you've had.
Okay, so I went to Connecticut Culinary Institute back in the day for college.
Nice.
Worked at the Newport Restaurant Group. Worked at the restaurant in the Omni Hotel. Was a Westin when I worked there. And then I was a manager over at Roger Williams University. Didn't really like the style of food there, so decided to open my own company and go into something which I really loved, which is more high-end offerings for customers in Rhode Island.
So your background, I mean, there's a lot of people that go and study, whether it's any culinary institute or whatever, and they find that, okay, they're good with going and working for someone else and doing that. You kind of found that path and knew that this is something you wanted to take up on yourself.
Yes,
To do.
yes.
So the style and the influences that come into your food play a lot into people's weddings, different events, and that's why I bring up the pictures again, is that every guest I've had today talks about how guests are looking at the different styles of texture and color, and food is no different. Food plays a giant part in the event from beginning to end. It's also become, as you heard earlier from some of the planners, how there are more things that are just the wedding ceremony, from the rehearsal dinner to bridal parties to a brunch after the wedding on the next day. All those are things that your company can handle, right?
Oh yeah,
And
oh
be
yeah.
part of. So from a menu perspective, and we're going to get to his food in 1 second, believe me, because the bacon is driving me crazy right now. So from a menu perspective, when someone comes to sit down with you and they're planning their event, they're planning their wedding, do you have questions that you ask them first, or do you kind of let them dump on you, or what's your tip in that regard?
So it depends on what the client wants. Some people come in, with knowing every detail that they want and very specific. Some people come in with absolutely no idea. So the first thing that we always ask is, what type of environment do you want? Is this something that you want a sit-down formal dinner? Do you want more like a cocktail party atmosphere with past hors d'oeuvres and stationary hors d'oeuvres? Or would you like sort of like a buffet style event, more casual?
So I'm going to get to the food because the bacon's driving me crazy. All right, so tell us what you brought here today, and we're going to get back to those questions.
Okay, so this is a classic entree that we do for more of like a plated atmosphere. It's a baked sweet potato, roasted asparagus, and a filet mignon with red wine demi-glace.
Yeah, there's no way you would not want to eat this. This is like picture perfect there, and it looks amazing. All right, then we got over here.
So over here, this is one of our most popular appetizers. This is a fried goat cheese that we do with a fig jam and honey and a little bit of microgreens on top. It's very popular.
I was going to say, that sounds like it'd be popular. Now, this can be passed, this can be stationary?
Yep, so this is one of those hors d'oeuvres where we do pass, we do on little individual spoons on platters, and we also do stationary.
Okay.
So this right now is set up for more of a stationary
Stationary.
event. Someone would have a plate, come over, take a little bite, and
Yeah, I'll be biting one of those at the end, don't worry. All right, and the bacon. We got to talk about them. We got here.
so the bacon, I didn't think this was going to be as popular as it is when I first started this
It's
company.
popular with me the second I saw it carried in.
So that's actually one of our most popular items. It's a candied bacon. It's candied in brown sugar, accented with black pepper, and either served right in the jar. People love it.
Really?
Or we do it right on toothpicks. You can see on our Instagram.
So people are just taking the bacon out and going to town.
Oh yeah.
I totally do this. I would totally do. And what do we got in the front here?
So the front we have a seared ahi tuna, which is crusted in black and white sesame seeds, served on a cucumber with wasabi cream and soy glaze.
Wonderful. So let's
A little healthier.
A little healthier, but I'd still go with the bacon first. No, I'd have them both, but believe me, I'd go with the bacon first. So let's talk about, you brought back about when somebody comes in, is that it seems like some people really know what they want and others don't. Some of my other guests earlier today, we heard about like key questions and things that come up from it. From an environment standpoint, when a guest comes to you and says, okay, my wedding's here, it's at this XYZ venue, does that have a factor into what they can do? Okay.
Yes. Because the venues matter a lot. Sometimes venues have kitchens there. Sometimes we pretty much have to bring our own kitchen. So that affects the price a lot. And the size of the venue, outdoor, indoor, we have to plan everything around that.
So you mentioned the kitchen. That's a really good point to consider when you're going to someplace. And something that comes to mind for me is an outdoor wedding. So someone has a wedding in a vineyard, or at an old farmstead or whatever. Those are thoughts that they need to be considerate of, because you can't process or put out foods like this without almost bringing a mobile kitchen.
Yeah,
inside,
well,
right?
we have to bring in grills and fry letters and flat tops and the whole deal.
How about from the standpoint of talking about an indoor venue, the style of what their menu is? Because if someone wants to do a cocktail reception, like we were just talking about earlier, where it's more stationary items, that takes up more space, I would imagine.
Yeah, so we have, it depends on the venue. We can bring tables. We have table runners, tablecloths, make everything look nice. And it depends on the venue. If there's a lot of room. If there isn't a lot of room, we do more past hors d'oeuvres,
Right.
Stuff like that.
Because it decreases your footprint. So if you've got round tables with all your guests are sitting at, and then you have these stations that you want to have, your floor space keeps getting smaller and smaller, which a lot of people want more space for a DJ or a band and that kind of thing to do. So from the menu side of things, what is there? I mean, this seems like you can go all over the place. What you've got there, the style of what's there. So when someone comes in, they shouldn't be afraid to talk. And this is a great question for you, because your background is now ownership and being a chef.
Yes.
They shouldn't be afraid to be able to talk about the different styles that are out there. So that's
no.
the gamut, right?
Yeah, I mean, we offer, like I said before, we have sit-down dinners, past hors d'oeuvres, stationary hors d'oeuvres, buffet style. So we have to work with the client within their budget, within what they're looking to see for their event, how upscale of an event. A lot of people like comfort foods put into their event actually now, so we kind of.
Does that seem like that's kind of a trend going forward now?
Yeah, it seems like a trend going forward, and local ingredients is really important to us, and that's important to a lot of clients nowadays.
Being able to do that locally sourced.
Yeah.
So, from a sit down with a client, you do the consultation, you ask some of these questions. Do you offer, or should guests try to do a tasting with you on these items so that it doesn't?
We do offer tastings. That's a great point to bring up. Generally, for much smaller events, we don't offer tastings, but for weddings and even like bridal showers, stuff like that, we do offer tastings. We'll sit down for a consultation, go over, and if the clients decide to go with us, then we have a tasting. We have another consultation tasting.
So, because to me that would be an extremely valuable thing to do. So, I had a question earlier about a sit-down dinner that was posted to me, and the question was, okay, you go to these tables, you've got 8 or 10 people, the courses are being served. Do you recommend, from a catering standpoint, that people serve less courses that are out, that like the reception is almost their appetizer instead of getting a first course, and then you go right to the entree? Does that seem like it's something that should be recommended, or is part of a growing trend to make the flow of the event go better?
That's a good question. It depends on what the client wants. I would generally recommend, one appetizer, an entree, and the cake.
And the cake. Okay.
So what a lot of people are doing is, they have like somewhat of a reception before the sit-down dinner, where we do the past hors d'oeuvres and stuff like that. And then when you sit down, you have your entree, the cake, and then get up to dance.
Now,
have the reception.
You guys, I'm sure, work with a lot of different companies. Like we talked to some of the planners that were here earlier. From a timing standpoint, so that's another thing that becomes a big issue, is that it seems like every wedding I've ever been to runs behind in one form or another. From a timing standpoint, does your team work with the event planner, or do you offer the services to kind of manage the event as well?
So we don't actually do event planning, but we can recommend event planners, and we do work with them. Our catering services that we offer pretty much we're very flexible, so we can go along if you already have an event planner and you're looking for a specific thing. We customize a lot of the time.
And then I wanted to bring up, because one of the things earlier was talking about how there's destination weddings, but there's also the seasonality of weddings coming up.
Yes.
Do you have, I mean, to me, I eat everything all year round, and if I can find the ingredient, I'd love it no matter what. So something like the asparagus that's more seasonal. Do you recommend that people try to stay with those seasonal items, or is it still some flexibility that you can bring and source those items for them that are out of season? If they're getting married in the fall, but they love summer vegetables,
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
So when we sit down with the client, obviously it depends on what season, and we offer, we go over and customize menus, and we offer seasonal selections at the time. So if someone comes to us and says, we have a menu wedding that we want to do in July or something like that, we have more seasonal options. We have like a grilled watermelon with feta. We utilize a lot of fresh produce too.
Now, from the perspective, you mentioned the desserts. Do you have different people that you recommend as well from the cakes and the dessert perspective?
Yeah, so we do a lot of smaller desserts in-house.
The miniature style?
Yeah,
Okay.
so we do that. As far as cakes go, I don't have anybody at the top of my head, but there are people
companies that you
we
work
work with.
So the ones that you make in-house from a pastry standpoint, so a lot of things I've seen now out there is these dessert bars.
Yep,
that
yeah, we
come
do a
up.
lot of that.
There's still the cake, but there's this dessert bar. Tell us a little bit about some of those items and how that setup is actually done, because that actually 2 people asked me about that, so I thought that was a great thing too.
Okay, so I would say that, you can really set it up the way that you want to, but I would suggest doing more of a stationary. We do displays, like we have little shortbreads with homemade caramel and chocolate. We do like lemon squares and all sorts of fun stuff.
So you still want to stay with the mini style of things, so that
Yeah,
it's easier to pick up.
it's easier to pick up. It's easier if someone just has a cocktail napkin and goes, rather than getting a big slice of something, unless it's a cake.
So what has been the, I have to end with this question because I like always asking the chefs the tricky questions that are in there. What's been probably one of the craziest things you've been asked to make for a wedding?
As far as crazy, I've had to do vegan options quite a bit actually.
Really?
Which I wasn't expecting when I got into it. But we've had some crazy
Requests from the vegan side of things?
for that.
It's
sort
because
of
the
stuff.
menu's got to be more challenging to try to do that
Yes,
for all the
yes,
guests in the
yes.
room.
And
So
you don't want to do tofu, we offer a lot of.
for everybody, that's challenging. That's definitely challenging. And then from your perspective of being in the kitchen and the planning and stuff that you put behind it, what's your favorite thing to do? You have to have some creative style that's really
Yes.
honed in on yours that you like to do.
So I love plating. Making the food look nice is really what we're after. We're offering more of an upscale type service to people, and working with them and doing this all at an affordable price. So people can actually have this and not spend crazy amounts of money on the wedding.
That brings up probably my last question from a budgetary perspective, which is always out there. And my guests earlier talked about where, how you should separate your budgets and the important things you want to consider, because everybody's got, they come in with big ideas, fantasy ideas, things that are out there. But from that budgetary perspective, and you're operating out of Hope and Maine and everything, do you have that flexibility? Do you think that that's something that's become more of a trend, that caterers offering different levels so that you can tell the guests, and then kind of, I don't know if I'd call it a la carte, but that pick and choose thing, that this is where we can do, this is where we can work for you, and if you want to go here, this is all it is for the next step. Is that feasible?
Yeah, so actually something that's become more popular is people doing like brunch for their wedding instead, and that cuts a lot of costs, and you still stay upscale. So that's actually something that's been going on recently that we've dealt with.
That's funny. That's a good thought. I didn't even think about that.
And like I said, again, it depends on your budget. We do plated options, but obviously a filet mignon is a little more expensive than a salmon or flank steak, stuff like that. So we work with the clients to try and work within their budget.
I'd be having the bacon and then the filet mignon. That'd be awesome. Well, Chef, thank you. Mark, you gave us a great overview. I really, really appreciate you coming in. 401 Gourmet, make sure you check them out. Great tips, good events that you can do, and like you said, the style of the food is, you got it there. So I'll be eating one of those in just a minute. Thank you very much for coming in. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So before I get ready to close out, I just want to say we'll be thinking about the tips, styles, and trends that we can bring to you next month, because I know that there'll be a lot going on coming into Christmas this weekend and New Year's next week of what you can have. But all these guys get great points, great overviews, so I hope it was helpful. This is a guide to forever. Thank you for joining me. I'm Rick Simone. Have a Merry Christmas. Thank you. Christmas. Thank you. Christmas.